Well, hey there, I'm so glad you showed up. Guess what? A few weeks ago, my family and I got to go inside a real submarine. We were visiting the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry in Portland, and they have out in the Kalmeijer River there an old Navy submarine called the USS Blueback. It was so cool inside, but boy, do you have to be okay with really tight spaces. I have so much more I want to tell you about that trip, but I'll have to do that in another video coming soon. But in the meantime, I think we should draw our very own submarine. All you're gonna need is a clean sheet of paper, a nice sharp pencil, an eraser, a dark marker or a pen, and of course, something to color with. All right, so let's go ahead and get started drawing our submarine. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with pencil and we're gonna draw the basic shapes and outline of our submarine just so we can get it how we like it. And then we're gonna do all the detail work and kind of finesse it a little bit more with a dark marker or a pen right after this. So first off, let's start with the basic shapes and form of our submarine. Let's kind of start a little bit lower, about right here. I'm gonna draw a line that goes across, and then I'm gonna do another line right about down here. It depends on how chunky you want your submarine to be, I guess is the question. And then I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna draw a line down where I'm gonna go, got a little bit extra on there, and I'm gonna draw a line over here. So for the front side or the bow, we're gonna draw just kind of like a half circle. Let's do this. Like that, kind of connect it down there. I'm not great at getting it right the first time, so I kind of have to go over it a few different times. Then on the back or the stern, we're gonna draw like a triangle on its side. I'm gonna try to figure out where the middle of this line is though. Really faint line just to help me out. That way, I know that it'll be right about there for the center, and then another line right over here to match that up in the middle. That should help you out a little bit. Now what else are we missing? Oh, there's the top up here, which they call the sail or the tower. And that's kind of where you can go up above the water line when your submarine does go to the top of the water and pokes its head out of there. You can even stand out there on there's like a little deck area that you can stand on. What about the propeller on the back? So let's do a little line right here. And then very simply, we're just gonna draw like little teardrop shapes. This one's gonna be upside down, and this one's gonna be a regular teardrop shape. It's a big propeller for this little submarine. And then what else do we need? Well, you have to find some way to steer it, right? And if this is just a big cylinder or a big tube, it's not gonna be able to steer itself. So let's add on, just like an airplane would, they call them actually planes or wings on the side here. Let's maybe move it right about here. This guy is gonna go, let's just kind of make it look like it's at an angle so we can see that it's actually like a wing shape. There we go. And then up here, maybe I can see, kind of eyeball where that line is right there so it all kind of matches up. This one too. Kind of helps me kind of match it up for myself just to make it look a little bit cleaner. Then I'm going to go like this, draw some lines up and down, and this is going to be able to help it steer this way. So these little the wings on the side, these guys right here, are going to help it kind of teeter-totter that way, and this one's going to help it teeter-totter this way. It's the rudder. So we got to put the rudders on here, and there's two of them on a submarine. So let's go across, maybe a little bit higher, and then I'm going to go across. Same thing down here, across. Don't go all the way. And see that little point that we had? Let's just cross over to that. It kind of looks like a goofy looking rocket. Look at this. If this thing was like this. So now we have just a few other little things, maybe some little portholes or windows, and that way they can kind of see out. Now, a lot of submarines don't have them right here, but a lot of submersibles do, and maybe some more that are more for exploring and research, less military and shooting torpedoes. Then you might see some windows on the side here. So let's do that. Let's draw lines here first, because I want to do this will be a fun little detail to do some lines right here, up and down, and then we're going to draw the little circle right here. Not too big, so I want to add another circle around it. But let's try to roughly get those locked in. And then if you want to draw another one around it, this is kind of harder to do. but we can kind of draw a little extra ring around this because when we do our detail work, portholes have a lot of these like they have like nuts and bolts on them that hold them shut. Okay, so we're getting really close. Now let's maybe add a little periscope on the top so they can see out. I'm gonna make it a little bigger than normal just because it's a little bit more fun and interesting to look at. And you can tell what it is. That's the great part about drawing something as opposed to just taking a photo of it, is that you can kind of get it to look exactly how you want it. And then the rest of this stuff, we'll put a lot of other little details on here, but I think this is pretty good and enough at least to get us to our marker point, and then we can start finishing this up. All right, so as I go over this, remember that we're gonna wanna round off some corners, or at least if you want to, go ahead and this is a good time to do it. So for example, I'm gonna go up here and then I'm gonna round it off instead of have a hard corner. I think that'll look more interesting and it kind of fits with what I know on submarines so that they can move smoothly through the water. Start right back here, go all the way up, and then I'm gonna round it off. I'm gonna do the same thing down here, and then I'm gonna round it off. Oops, that didn't round off very well, but you get the idea. I'm gonna go all the way across here. I'm gonna go all the way across here. It's hard to get those straight lines. I feel like your hand gets a little wobbly. All right, so now I'm gonna go down. And this is the hard part. I gotta get this on one shot. That's why you do a pretty good job with your sketch. As close as you can get it sometimes on areas that are gonna be tougher. So that way, when you go and do your final pass with the marker, it turns out the way you want it to. No guesswork. All right, so we gotta get this propeller like that. Sometimes you don't have to add in all the details if you're just trying to get the idea across. Like for this one, oops, I kind of went in a little bit. Now this isn't a submarine that you probably would find out there, but it has a lot of the same pieces to it. And it probably works very similar to how a lot of submarines work. And that's one thing when you're trying to make things, you can have your creative liberties. That means you can kind of do what you want with it because you're the artist. You can make it look how you want. But if you are trying to make something look like something from real life and you want people to know what it is, then it's good to have a good idea of what that thing looks like and how it works. And that's why I love learning about the things that we're drawing. It really helps me understand what I need to put on here. And then from there I can go ahead and change it however I want to make it as fantastical or fun as I want. But at least I have a good starting point of knowing what the general parts are of my submarine. Circles are hard. These are going to be always hard for me. I don't know when circles are going to get easier to draw. They feel like they never get easier. Especially smaller circles like these ones. So do your best. Probably would be nice to have those little tracing things, little guides that you can just trace your circles on. That would be really handy right now. Okay, is it turning out well for you? Good. Okay, remember you can pause at any point if you need to kind of slow things down for yourself and catch up. I'm going to hope that these circles, these are kind of like rivets, how they kind of hold metal together, especially when it needs to be completely airtight. So submarines can be used for all types of things. You'll hear about them in the military. They use them. They use them to shoot torpedoes and missiles out for protection of other ships or to attack other ships in war. But they also use them for research and finding things, like finding old lost ships. All sorts of things. So you know how they go up and down? Well, I put a lot more on this one. That's all right. So they have something right here, a big, it's actually a big tank that's inside there called a ballast tank. And what that does is they fill it up with water when they want to go down. It makes it heavier and they start to sink. It goes, and And then when they want to go up, what do you think they do? That's right, they go ahead and let that water out and they fill it with air, and then it gets lighter and it starts to go whoop, more buoyant, and it goes right up to the surface. So they can adjust how deep they want to be with those ballast tanks. Isn't that pretty cool? I've been on submarines a few different times. Never under the water though, just in them when they were on shore. This is looking really fun. Now, I'm gonna add a few more details that we didn't draw earlier, and that might just be like, I think it'd be fun to kind of add an extra line right here, just to make it more interesting, and sometimes it's more fun to color in when you have more lines, when you got more areas to color in. Let's add a little window over here. It'd be fun. That way, if they do go above the water, maybe the water's right here, then they can still kind of get up there and they can peek out. Let's do this. Sometimes if you go over it too many times, it starts to get all wonky. That's okay. That's how it was meant to look. That's what you say as an artist. If you make a mistake when you're drawing, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted it to look like. Alrighty, so I'm gonna do let's do a little guardrail. I don't know how many of them have guardrails, but I think that would be kind of nice because these are really big. Now we don't fall into the ocean. Let's do some lines here. Look at that. Perfect. Maybe on the door we'll add a little fun detail like that little guy right there. You know, like the big metal doors that they have to open. Something like that. And then maybe we'll add more rivets on the top just because it would look cool. All right, what do y'all think? It's looking pretty cool. Now erase all that undersketch before we move on to, what is it? Color! I think I am done. Oh man, this one turned out so fun. What color did you use on your submarine? Was it yellow? A yellow submarine would be pretty cool. You should ask your parents about that. I'm sure they know something about a yellow submarine. Alrighty, the last thing I wanted to do before I even finished the coloring was I wanted to try doing one little thing. So if you have like a white crayon or colored pencil or something like that, this is like a little white jelly pen. It actually can go over top of my marker. And I'm gonna add little shine there on my little porthole areas to see if I can make it look like it's kind of shining a little bit or make it look more like a window. All right, well, it's not finished yet because what do we have to do? Yep, that's right. We got to put our name on it or your initials, which is what I like to do. But I'm pretty proud of how this turned out. It leaned a little bit like this, but all I have to do is turn my paper and boop, it's right as rain. Hey, that was fun. Thank you so much for drawing with me. And if you still have that itch to keep drawing, we have plenty more videos here on this channel for you to check out. But just in case I don't see you in the next video, always remember, be brave, be creative, and most importantly, be you. You are going to love our new book, The Nature Explorer's Drawing Guide for Kids. It's full of interesting facts and step-by-step instructions for drawing all kinds of plants, insects, and animals, helpful art tips, and even blank nature journal pages in the back for you to go outside and make your own discoveries. Check it out for yourself. You can find it anywhere online where books are sold.